Are you sure?
I'm feeling pretty good. Pretty good.
Do not go in there. Woo! Chlorophyll? More like chlorophyll.
You did it! Congratulations!
Serenity now!
Warning. Mature content. The following stream contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences, including mature themes, strong language, and potentially sensitive material. Viewer discretion is advised.
What is up, everybody? Thanks for being here. We are about to review the last day of the defense's case. And the first thing I want to do is apologize. I got some messages on the last live, some nice, some not so nice, that my mic was like way louder than the court audio yesterday. So I'm sorry if I blew out any eardrums. That's on me. I should have known better. Hopefully it's more. I made the mic lower. I made the court louder. Hopefully we're at an even level here. And hopefully I don't blow out any eardrums. That was the first thing on my agenda. What's up, everyone? Thanks for being here. I see Yindra's here. Yindra's picture hasn't been in every trial, I believe. And she predicts a 4-hour verdict. What else did I want to talk about? Before we get into this, what's up, Chris's video? Kim, Debbie, everyone. Now I'm too low. All right. Well, I don't want to. I made it a little bit louder. I hope that's okay. One thing I wanted to bring up, a couple points I wanted to make. First of all, I've had a lot of people in my comments legitimately saying they think that Donna's attorneys are purposely throwing this trial so that Donna is going to get an appeal on ineffective assistance of counsel. Guys, that is not a thing. They're just terrible attorneys. I mean, one of them, Fulford, took a sleeping pill and didn't even know it. They just suck. That's not a thing you do. Like, you don't purposely throw a trial just to get potentially get your client a retrial. In order to get that done, it's nearly impossible. They just suck. Because I have a lot of people in my comments on Twitter who are like, that's what's happening here. I'm like, no, that is not what's happening. And one thing I wanted to, maybe I should wait for the testimony, but one point I wanted to make that was just really upsetting about today, because if you missed it, 2 attorneys testified. Wendy's attorney during the trial, who was Wendy's divorce attorney with Dan, and then an expert to another family divorce attorney to say that the divorce wasn't contentious based on looking at the paperwork and the motions. I have gone through a contentious divorce. My wife, Shannon, my beautiful, wonderful wife, Shannon, went through a contentious divorce with a motion for relocation, which she eventually won after hell. But the point I want to make is, I don't care what the paperwork says. When you're in a divorce like that, regarding the custody of children particularly, it consumes your life. Every day, every motion, every email, it's consuming your life. You want to take care of your kids. And it's just, particularly if you're trying to move, I mean, I don't care what the paperwork says. And I think about this all the time with Dan Markel. They must have made his life a living fucking hell. We've seen the emails. Hitler, youth uniforms. We've seen the shit that Donna said. We haven't seen everything that went on behind the scenes. We've seen them bitching that Dan would stay too late at a soccer practice and want to hang out with the kids. So it was particularly disgusting. I mean, I was pissed at Adamson, but I was super pissed at Linda Bailey, who got paid, who took the Adelson's money to testify like a real piece of trash. You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to her testimony and then we'll discuss it then. Aaron, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. All right. One thing I wanted to do real quick. We have.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
Got a quick fan mail I want to do, then we'll get into it. This is on my video I made of Wendy's lunch date. This rant is civil and respectful, ? 2 minutes of my life I will never get back for listening to this drivel. Hey, Fairway 03N. 2 minutes? You're bitching about a 2-minute video? A 2-minute video you're bitching about? You had to make that comment over it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You'll never get that time back? I hope you recover, Fairway. I hope you're able to recover that 2 minutes, which it was probably longer for you to leave that dumb fucking comment, you moron. Okay. Fan mail. Why? Oh, we'll get into why I think Donna didn't testify. We'll get into that. But let's get right into the testimony. Let's get into this idiot number one. Who she was gonna have to testify. She was subpoenaed. Her testimony is relevant. She was the attorney. You knew she was going to testify. She testified in the last trial. It was going to happen. The other attorney didn't have to testify. But anyhoozle, let's get into it. Oh, and I have it at 1.25.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today will be the truth? You may take your seat. You may examine when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Kristen Adamson.
Hey, Ms. Addison, how are you employed?
I'm a lawyer.
What type of law do you practice?
I practice family law, and I have done so for 37 years.
How long have you been practicing?
37 years.
Okay. Are you board certified?
And just real quick, talk about how bad Donna's attorneys are. I want you to listen to these two questions again. He literally, it's like Ron Burgundy Anchorman, where he's got what's on his little notepad and he does not go away from it because he doesn't know what else to say. He says, how long have you been attorney? She says 37 years. And then he goes, how long have you been attorney? Because she answered additionally to the question. Listen to this again.
I practice family law, and I have done so for 37 years.
How long have you been practicing?
37 years.
Okay.
Like, dude, she just answered the question. You don't have to read every single question that's on your little pad to check off.
Are you board certified?
Yes, I am board certified in marriage and family law by the Florida Supreme Court.
What's involved in becoming board certified?
And I've been board certified since 1996. I had to take a test on family law, and I had to pass a peer review by judges and my colleagues in Florida.
Man, who cares? Who cares?
Accolades or awards throughout your
Who cares?
Section on the matrimonial lawyers.
Don't care.
Family law prior
Don't
to
care.
being allowed. And,
Don't care.
matrimonial lawyers.
I have been a fellow.
Don't care.
As a family law attorney, did you have occasion to represent Wendy Adelson?
I did represent Wendy Adelson in the end of 2012, I believe it was, 2013, and part of 2014.
Would you call her divorce a bitter custody battle?
I would not. That's not how I would characterize it.
How would you characterize it?
She had a relocation case where she desired to go to Miami. All relocation cases are a little bit more difficult than just regular custody cases because we almost always have to have a court determination on a relocation case because, unlike almost all other family law cases, relocation is a win-lose thing. Almost everything else in family law is sort of a split the baby. Relocation is not. So we did have to go to court on that. And that going to court always is a little bit harder, but in general, this was more or less after that a run-of-the-mill kind of parenting issue kind of case.
Is it unusual?
I mean, it's just wild for them to just get these two people on the case, on the stand, to testify. It's just a run-of-the-mill case. Dan was murdered. The ex-husband was murdered. And this one literally testifies like, well, I've had other cases with murder, so it was not that big a deal. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Seek, in your practice, has it been unusual to seek relocation?
No, not at all. I have two right now.
Now, speaking to Tallahassee, why is it not unusual?
Why is it not unusual?
Yes.
It's not unusual because it depends on why someone is here in Tallahassee. Tallahassee has a lot of students with the university. They may graduate with a degree, have children, expect to be able to move somewhere else after they graduate. One person wants to leave, the other person doesn't want to leave. The two cases I have right now, they're not here in front of this court, so they're actually, one of them settled. But one of them, the mother received a potential job offer in North Carolina. The father lived here. She wanted to move to North Carolina. All of his family was here. Her family was not. She wanted to move somewhere else, so that was one. And another one that I have right now is a person wants to move to Pensacola. My client wants to move to Pensacola because her family is there, and the father does not want to because his job is here. So it's almost always about moving to be close to your family when a marriage dissolves. I mean, that even happened with my sister. When she divorced in Florida, she moved to Atlanta to be close to my parents. It's a very common thing for people to want to move to be near their parents, no matter how old they are.
Now, do you have parents who attend client meetings?
I do. And it doesn't seem to matter whether my clients are 20 or 40. I have many cases where a mom or a dad or sister or somebody comes to almost every meeting I have, including mediations, and they're heavily involved in the divorce of their sibling or their child, regardless of age. It's just something, families tend to be enmeshed in their other families' divorces. They do. I usually let them come to mediation because sometimes it's important to hear how the mediation is going so that they don't try to armchair quarterback it after the mediation.
Understood. Now, you indicated that you typically have to go to court for relocation. How difficult is it to get court approval for relocation?
Well, I always tell my clients in Leon County that even though according to the statute, there's no presumption that someone should be able to leave or not leave. I do think that there's a presumption against relocation, and I always tell my clients that it's a very hard thing to obtain a relocation. That you have to have kind of special circumstances, and there's a whole laundry list of statutory criteria that you have to meet to try to be able to relocate. And so we sit down and we go through the statutory criteria and determine whether or not you'll be able to do it. Most of the time, I tell them it's a 50-50 shot at best. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes less.
Okay. Did you have that conversation with Wendy Adelson while you were representing her?
I did.
Okay. And did you advise her of that same information?
I did. Basically, I told her that if this is something that was important to her, this was her one shot at it. If you get divorced and then try to relocate afterwards, you're probably not going to win unless something really substantial comes up and changes it. So if she wanted to try to be able to relocate, this was her shot at it at best.
So in other words, is it, not that it's easy, but is it easier to try to obtain relocation in the initial proceeding or in a modification?
In an initial proceeding.
Okay. Now, the standard for a modification, what is that?
Standard for a modification is a substantial change in circumstance. And at the time that I had Wendy's case, there was also another component which no longer exists. But at the time that I had Wendy's case, you had to prove there was a substantial change in circumstances, that it was in the best interest of the child for a modification, and that it was detrimental to the child not to modify. The detriment part does no longer exist. Now you have to just prove there's been a substantial change in circumstance and that it's in the best interest of the children. But at that point, you would have had to prove that it was detrimental in some way to the children to modify.
Is that why you advised Miss Wendy Adelson, if she wanted to try relocation, she should do it at the front end?
Yes. Proving detriment is hard to describe to clients because they don't understand how substantial that really has to be. It has to be very substantial. Children are failing in school, children are potentially being neglected or abused, or there's alcohol or drug or mental illness.
Okay. Have you ever been successful in convincing a judge to grant relocation?
I personally have only won one case in 37 years for relocation.
So, would you say it's difficult?
I think it's difficult.
Now, even though you've only gotten court approval for one with the client, have you been able to successfully negotiate for relocation in other cases?
I have been able to negotiate relocation in other cases, sometimes through help of mental health professionals who will interview the parties and the children and make recommendations. Sometimes we'll have a guardian ad litem appointed to make a recommendation. We'll have a parenting evaluation or something like that that makes a recommendation. And if you have those things behind you, then it does help, because most people don't want to go to a judge if you have a mental health professional that says, oh yeah, relocation would be great. So we have been able to do it in that way. I also have been able to have relocations when you have an older child who really wants to relocate and the other parent doesn't object. Or sometimes you have, like in my sister's case, which I actually shouldn't have, but I did represent my sister. She moved to Atlanta, and then her husband was able to obtain a job in Atlanta and move up there to her former husband. So we negotiated all those things.
And I think you said you explained all of this to Wendy.
I did.
Was she aware that the chances of success were low?
Yes, I mean, I told her that this was her shot. I thought she had some good reasons. I would never have someone file a relocation if I didn't think they had a shot at it. So I think she did have a shot at it for many reasons, but including the fact that her parents were down there, that Professor Markel had a very flexible job. He had family in South Florida. These were very little children at the time. We did not have the presumption of 50-50 parenting, and she had done most of the parenting. There were lots of reasons I felt like she had a really pretty good shot at it. But I did tell her it's not going to be easy.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the family law rules of procedure generally. Do the rules require the exchange of certain materials in dissolution proceedings?
Yes.
And what are those?
We have mandatory disclosure in divorce and modification proceedings, including custody and just regular divorce. And pursuant to the Florida Supreme Court rules and 12.540, we have to file a financial affidavit under oath that the parties and lawyers and their paralegals help them fill out. We also have to provide a laundry list of documents that keeps getting larger. It's bank statements for 3 years, it's retirement statements, it's deeds, it is credit reports. I mean, it's a very large, voluminous amount of documentation that we have to exchange with the other party, the other counsel.
And when completing the financial affidavits, specifically when you completed Miss Adelson's family law financial affidavit, did you gather records in the process of completing that so you could disclose everything appropriately?
We did. We gathered all those records and we exchanged them and gave them to opposing counsel. Sometimes what does happen is the other side has all the records. For example, tax returns, we have to exchange tax returns for 3 years. Sometimes the father or the husband might have all the tax returns, the wife might have all the tax returns, so you do rely sometimes for the other side to provide the documents that you should have. But
Now,
that does happen.
Do you have to list all assets on the financial affidavit?
Within reason, you do have to list your substantial assets. Sometimes I have people that want to list minutia assets, de minimis assets. We don't really do that. We try to keep it as global as possible. We don't list everybody's clothing or, but we list all the cars, generally speaking. But financial affidavits are also a work in progress. We can amend them. And that is part of what happens when you go through a dissolution. Sometimes more documents come to light. A lot of times when people are getting divorced, they're not always in their best mind, and they're not always working as well as you'd want them to, so it takes a lot of help to get a lot of these documents sometimes. So we amend financial affidavits, and I always tell them, don't worry, we'll amend before we go to court. If we have more documents that come up or we find out more information, or you change jobs, we have to do that.
What about non-marital assets?
We generally list non-marital assets as separate if we have knowledge of them. Non-marital assets can be very clean, where you absolutely know something's non-marital, or they may not be, because what people don't always understand, it's an education process as you're educating your client as they're going through divorce. Simply because it's in your name alone does not mean it's non-marital. So it can be in your name alone and still be marital if you have obtained it during the marriage. However, sometimes it can be both, and we have to separate things out.
You know, one thing that's bothered me about these two particular witnesses today, these two lawyers, like they were just adding additional shit to like dig into Dan, and it really pissed me off. And I'm like, am I just like really subjective? And I hate all like the defense witnesses, which I have pretty much disliked most of them. But like the Descalzo came on, the one who was Donna's attorney when she was in the turtle suit because he tried to flee, And she just kind of answered the questions. She wasn't trying to spin it in any way. And like, I was indifferent to her. Like, it's these pieces of garbage that have to add these little things on behalf of the Adelsons that really bother me.
I know with Wendy's case, that was one of the things that happened, is she had an asset that was potentially marital and non-marital because she owned some of it before the marriage, and then she had some of it, she contributed some of it after the marriage. So it's hard to determine how much initially, and we sometimes have to hire expert witnesses, financial witnesses, to come and help us determine what part of this is non-marital and what part is marital. For example, if you have a retirement account and you've contributed to that retirement account before the marriage, everything you contributed before the marriage is yours. It's not marital. And whatever increase in value due to the market is also non-marital. So if you have $100,000 in a retirement account, you get married, that $100,000 theoretically, except for 2009, that $100,000 continues to grow, so you're entitled to the growth on it too, as non-marital. So that's why sometimes it gets very complicated and we can't determine it initially when doing a financial affidavit, but we do try to determine it by the time we get to court, at least.
Okay. Now, I want to back up a little bit. What happened with Wendy Adelson's relocation?
She did not win her relocation.
Can you tell us what happened at that hearing?
So we had a hearing on the relocation. We put on Wendy Adelson, and she testified about the reasons that she wanted to move. She did have a job offer in Miami. We put on the lawyer from the law firm that had offered her the job. He testified about what the job would be, how much more money she would be making, and the flexible hours, et cetera, et cetera. We put on all of that, and then at the end of our testimony, the judge asked to speak to counsel, which happens a lot, and she took counsel out. It was me and Professor Markel's lawyer, and she told us she understood why Ms. Adelson wanted to move, but she wasn't going to allow it because she didn't think she had met her burden of proving it was in the best interest of the children.
During that hearing, or after the judge made those comments, did Wendy go out in the hallway to speak to her parents?
Well, after she made those comments, I went to both Mr. Duggar and I went to our respective clients.
Abby with the $10 super chat for PTO to cover Wendy's trial. Thank you so much. For sure, I will be covering Wendy's trial. If there's a trial for Wendy, which I will be covering that.
We told our respective clients what the judge had said, and basically, if the judge had already determined this without hearing from Professor Markel, we didn't really have a chance of winning this at all because she'd already heard the best case of our case. So I talked to Wendy about that, and then Wendy's parents were there, and I actually spoke to Wendy and her parents, and then she went and spoke to her parents again, I think, if I can remember. It was a long time ago, but I think she's...
So let me get this straight. After the judge talked to you, Wendy had to talk to her parents twice? Seems like Donna had some influence on her, huh? Seems like Donna was directing things, huh?
Spoke to her parents outside of my presence as well.
Did Wendy ultimately stipulate to the withdrawal or the denial of that petition with prejudice?
So what happened at that point was we went back into court. The judge denied Professor Markel's motion to dismiss because he had filed a motion to dismiss our pleading. She found our pleading to be sufficient, so she entered an order denying his motion to dismiss. She entered an order that we stipulated on the records that we would agree to the denial of the relocation. And then she entered another order where we all stood there and worked through with the judge what the temporary visitation would be for the next summer and the next several months before we got to another agreement.
And at this point in time, I believe it was approximately the third week of June of 2013?
Yes.
Okay. And what was Wendy's reaction?
At that point in time, I think she was upset that she wasn't going to. I mean, nobody wants to not win their case. She was upset. She was always calm during all of.
She was upset, you say. Weird, because I thought she always testifies that they filed the motion, but they didn't really think it was going to win. They filed the motion for relocation, but she didn't really think it was going to win. But this lady's telling me she was upset? That's weird. That's suspicious.
My meetings with her, she understood. She's a lawyer. She understood what I was telling her in terms of the legal ramifications. I think she was resigned to it. We did speak a few times after that because we had to get geared up for the next round of this. We had already gone to mediation before that, and we had not been able to agree at the mediation on the relocation. So we knew we had to go to another mediation. So I talked to her several times about the next mediation, which would be dealing with all the other parenting issues and the financial issues. So I did talk to her quite a bit after that, and she seemed resigned to it.
Now, although the court denied the petition, would it have been possible for Wendy Adelson to offer Mr. Markell any financial incentive in order to convince him to change his mind?
Well, we hadn't finished the case. We still were going to go to another mediation. It's always possible. I tell everyone that even after an unsuccessful mediation, people settle their cases on the eve of trial all the time in some way or another. They do. And it's always best if you can settle your case and not leave it to.
Got a $50 Venmo from Rhonda M for you just being you and bringing us along for awesome rides. Much love to you and Shannon. Thank you so much, Rhonda. And got one from Kathy H2, $10. Love you, Jay. Thank you for streaming. Thank you so much, Kathy H.
To court, you have much more control if you are the decision makers rather than the court.
Is there anything improper or illegal with one party offering a financial incentive to the other party to obtain relocation?
No, and I actually have negotiated that in the past,
Now,
and since that time as well.
Subsequent to that hearing, did you have another mediation on the dissolution, the distribution of assets, and the parenting time?
We did, and at that mediation, we came very close to settling it, and we were there for quite a long period of time. But we did not settle it at the mediation. I think we settled it within a week after the mediation, where opposing counsel and I exchanged a lot of phone calls, and because we had gotten very, very close at mediation, and we were able to resolve all of it within a week of mediation.
Now,
before we had a court trial set, I believe, and so we were able to do it before the court trial.
Thank you. Prior to adjourning mediation, did an issue come up concerning a potentially non-marital asset that Miss Adelson had?
It did.
And what asset was that?
It was if I remember correctly, it was the Charles Schwab account that we had listed on the financial affidavit in the marital portion, and then on the non-marital portion, we had listed Charles Schwab non-marital portion to be determined. And we went into mediation in that way, not knowing exactly what was marital and what was not marital.
Now, I know in our pretrial discussions, you indicated, can you typically talk about what happens at mediation?
Mediation is confidential, and that's one of the things I tell my clients is that the mediator can't be called to testify about what happened in mediation, and I can't testify about what happened in mediation, et cetera, et cetera. So the theory behind that is that people will be as open to negotiation without fear that it's going to come back in court and hurt them in some way in front of a judge. You can't talk about the settlement offers that were made. For example, in mediation, if they say, oh, but he offered to pay child support above and beyond child support, and then we don't reach an agreement, you can't come into court and say, but he made this offer. So it keeps everybody moving forward and not worrying about what the offers are.
Is there an exception for disclosing what happens in mediation if you're ordered to do so by the court?
There is, and there's also an exception about what happens in mediation if the marital settlement agreement is asked to be set aside for some purpose like fraud or overreaching or something like that, then the terms of it and the mediation would potentially be able to pierce that veil of confidentiality.
But for our purposes, in order to talk about what specifically happened concerning that asset in mediation, do you need the court to order that you disclose that information?
I would certainly like the court to order that. I don't want to fall foul of any mediation rules. I can tell you that my client
Oh, you don't? Julie, thank you so much.
Waived that confidentiality. The mediator, who was a friend and a lovely person, Joe Boyd, he is not with us anymore, and Professor Markell is not with us anymore. So a lot of people in that mediation are
like, even that little thing, like, is that funny? Is that a thing to laugh at? You think Ruth and Phil think that's funny?
Mediator, who was a friend and a lovely person, Joe Boyd, he is not with us anymore, and Professor Markell is not with us anymore. So a lot of people.
Hilarious. Good joke. Funny one.
People in that mediation are gone, and was being
like, what? How are these people so fucking tone deaf? How can you be that unaware of yourself to laugh at that? Like that's something funny to laugh at while his parents and sister are right across from you. And this isn't a lay person. This isn't senior citizen Snooki. This is a woman whose job it is to be in a courtroom and deal with judges and deal with juries and knows what it's like to be in a court. 37 years. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's like Fulford making the joke about the court reporting shooting her. Are you kidding me? What the fuck is wrong with these people?
Ms. Adelson has waived confidentiality.
You need to do the pledge, Ms. Edison. With the waiver of confidentiality by your client, I will order you to testify on the subject matters being inquired into. The state may cross-examine as to all subjects as well. You may continue.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Ms. Adamson, can you tell us that Charles Schwab account that you mentioned, how was that addressed at mediation?
So this became sort of a last-minute little dust-up during the mediation. So what we did was we called the Charles Schwab account representative. And this is not uncommon in mediation. And I had Joe Boyd, who was the mediator, come in and talk to the Charles Schwab account representative. So it wasn't just me talking to the representative and telling the other side what had happened. I wanted the mediator to actually do it and to hear it. And so he talked to the Charles Schwab representative, who outlined, in his opinion, what the possessory status of that Charles Schwab account was, who owned it when, where it was, how it had been separated into multiple counts apparently, and which ones were marital and non-marital. And then he went into the other room. We're not in the same room. We're in, Ms. Adelson and I are in one room. And
Frog says, watch Donna's going to go free, and I hate it, but I believe it's going to happen. And I've seen some similar comments on Twitter, and this is all I have to say. You never 100% know with the jury. You just don't. You never do, right? But let's just wait before people who are so, like, sometimes in a trial, evidence, how it's introduced can be a little choppy, and it can feel like certain points aren't being won over to the jury. Just wait for Georgia's closing, and then just wait for the shitty defense closing we're going to get, and then wait for Georgia's rebuttal of that closing, where she ties it all together. I'm telling you, Donna's in trouble, guys. Charlie's verdict came back, and it was exact. Charlie's verdict came back. The jury came back. They probably decided within like 10 minutes. They had lunch. They came back. Donna's trial is exactly like Charlie's, except worse. She tried to flee the fucking country, and she's bribing her jail daughters. And they got the thing from her journal where she's got Dan's license plate. She's done, in my opinion.
Professor Markell and his lawyer are in another room, and the mediator is going back and forth between the two rooms. So in our room, he listened to what the Charles Schwab representative said, and then he went into the other room and told them what he had said. And after that mediation, Mr. Duggar and I discussed the fact that it actually happened, and everybody felt comfortable with what was marital and non-marital. And that was when, along with other little things about the parenting and other loose ends being tied up, we were able to actually have a marital settlement agreement. The Charles Schwab account, in all its different permutations, was listed in the marital settlement agreement, and Professor Markell had almost $500,000 worth of non-marital Charles Schwab accounts of his own.
Okay.
So he had non-marital money as well.
So based on what you've discussed, Mr. Markell was aware of the non-marital status of that portion of Wendy Adelson's portion of what she would get.
He was.
By the way, even if they don't get Donna on murder, which I think they will, any lesser charge is life for that piece of shit.
And as you said, shortly thereafter...
Yes, and there's the call where she's talking about how she's going to kill herself and flee the country. I mean, come on.
That case settled.
Within a week, I think. Ish.
Shortly after the divorce was final, did Wendy invite you to a get her groove back party?
I don't remember when the party was, whether it was a month or 2 or 3, but she did invite me to a party in her new...
I mean, this was some new information to hear about. Get the groove back party? Really, Wendy? Get the groove back, Stella?
I think it was an apartment or townhouse. I don't remember what it was exactly. But she invited me to a party. It was called Wendy Gets Her Groove Back. And I had several friends I knew of Wendy's that were there as well.
And I brought some bullet bourbon.
It was just sort of a Wendy's in a good place. Come celebrate my new life party. Yeah, in Tallahassee.
Throughout the course of your
Helena Bow for 16 months. Thank you so much, Helen B.
representation,
Penny's excited about it too. Penny!
could you tell us the total amount of attorney's fees and costs that you incurred in this case?
I think the total amount of costs and attorney's fees, we did take a couple depositions. We had 2 mediations. One was ordered by the court on that relocation case, and then that was a pretty short mediation. It was only a couple hours. The other one was much longer. I think the total attorney's fees were probably about $30,000.
And costs of?
That includes costs and everything, I think.
Okay. Now,
I know that sounds like a lot, but it wasn't that much compared to a lot of litigated cases.
okay. Now, litigated cases have multiple evidentiary hearings.
Correct.
Did this?
No, we had. I don't believe we actually had any evidentiary hearings. The only other hearing that we really did have was post-dissolution.
So aside from the relocation, prior to the divorce being final, there were no contested hearings?
There were no contested hearings.
Now, subsequent, did the marital settlement agreement require that Mr. Markell pay Wendy and yourself certain sums?
So according to the marital settlement agreement, Professor Markell kept the house. So he was supposed to pay Wendy for her part of the house. And all the other assets were divided equally, so that he kept an equal amount, she kept an equal amount. He was supposed to pay, I think it was about $120,000 for his part of the house within 60 days. He had the money because he had more than $500,000 in non-marital assets, and he had also marital assets as well. He was supposed to pay me $10,000 in attorney's fees because he made a lot more money than Wendy did, and it's based upon, attorney's fees is based upon who has more resources, and he had considerably more resources than Wendy did. So that was part of the agreement. He was supposed to pay me $10,000, he was supposed to pay her $120,000, all within 60 days of the agreement, which was July, sometime 2013.
July 31st?
I think that's right.
Did Mr. Markell pay the sums that he was obligated to pay under the settlement agreement?
He was supposed to transfer, if I remember, from one of his Charles Schwab accounts to Wendy, the money. He gave her $50,000 of the $120 in a pretty timely basis, and then he just didn't pay the rest. And I don't like to file enforcement hearings on things like that because it takes a long time to get to court. It's not fun. It's just kind of, so I was pretty much once a week or once every other week asking opposing counsel if Professor Markell was going to pay.
Did he pay?
He did not.
What did Wendy ask you to do to enforce that?
At some point, I wrote a letter, I believe, to opposing counsel. So this was, first it's a bunch of emails and phone calls, and then it's a letter saying, please pay, so we don't have to file an enforcement. A part of our marital settlement agreement, if we
Please pay, because he was a deadbeat and he wouldn't pay, so I sent him a letter first because he was a piece of shit.
have to file an enforcement and we win, which we would have because he had to pay, then he would also have to pay additional attorney.
He would have to pay because he's an idiot, and why would he do this? Why was he wasting everyone's time? Because he was an asshole. Like, fuck you.
Attorney's fees for doing that. So then it just becomes more and more money that he owes and he's not paying theoretically. So, and this was all on property issues. So unlike custody, we're not going to be able to, or child support, we can't put him in court or in jail. We're not going to be able to put him in jail or anything like that. We're only going to have to be able to go after his assets and things of that nature. It's a lot easier if people will just pay. So I finally filed a motion for enforcement saying he'd only paid $50,000. He owed the other money, and he owed me money, and I asked for a court hearing on all of that.
Sounds like it was pretty straightforward motion that you filed?
It was pretty straightforward. It was probably 4 or 5 paragraphs.
Okay. Did that prompt Mr. Markell to pay?
No, it did not.
What happened?
So then Mr. Markell hired a new lawyer. And his new lawyer filed a responsive pleading to my motion, basically saying that he shouldn't have to pay because Ms. Adelson had breached the marital settlement agreement.
How did he allege that she breached the settlement agreement?
He filed multiple motions, but this first responses and motions, this first one, basically, if I remember correctly, was all about the money. And he said that he shouldn't have to pay because she had hidden the Charles Schwab money from him, and he used to have power of attorney, so he knew that she hid the money, which doesn't make sense, because if he had power of attorney, he would know what the money was, so it didn't make sense to me. But anyway, that she had hidden that money, and that she hadn't told him about several other of her retirement accounts, and therefore the marital settlement agreement was breached, and he shouldn't have to pay her the money.
So he filed a response, but did he seek to have the settlement agreement itself voided or set aside?
He did not. So, and that is what I told when.
Honestly, when it comes down to all of this shit, all of these things they're trying to say about Dan that he did during the divorce, I don't give a fuck. It does not give the Adelsons the right to murder a man, a father of their grandkids, a father of their children. It doesn't give them the right to fucking do that. I don't give a shit. And what was he doing? He was a lawyer fighting for more time with his kids, fighting because Wendy's hiding money from him. I don't give a fuck. What is this defense? What is this proving to me? I don't care.
At the time is not a proper defense for not paying the money. Professor Markel, it was pretty obvious that he had actually written this pleading himself, and the lawyer just signed off on it. It had footnotes, which is not something litigation lawyers would do. It was voluminous, and it was very personal.
Oh, it was voluminous and personal. So we had to fucking show Donna how to kill her. Like, what is the defense here? I don't give a shit. Fuck you. Oh, it was voluminous. He wrote it. Who cares? He was a lawyer. That was his job. That's what happens when you marry an attorney. He was a law professor, FSU law professor.
About what was going on in Wendy and how I don't think at this point he alleged that he might have alleged that she had committed fraud. But an appropriate pleading would have been for him to file a 12.540. I know it's kind of technical, but basically if you think that an agreement is reached and it is not in good faith, or there's assets that were not provided, then you must file within a year for a 12.540 to have the whole agreement set aside. You can't just say one good breach is another. And I filed a pleading basically saying that his motion should be dismissed because it was inappropriate. And
you filed a motion to strike as a sham pleading?
I did. I filed a motion saying this was an inappropriate pleading and it should be dismissed because it wasn't the correct way to go about doing what he wanted to do. And so I then tried to set hearings on those motions so that we could move this forward and everybody could get paid.
Now, in the process of doing this with his responses, did he file subsequently a pleading that further alleged fraud on Wendy's part?
I think he filed at least one or two more pleadings that did that.
Oh, by the way, people, for folks who didn't watch today, I'm going to give you a little spoiler. Spoiler. See this asshole right here? This miserable, I'm not going to say the C word. I'm not going to say it, but this miserable piece of shit fucking scumbag, this asshole who has been an attorney for 37 years, just like her BFF lawyer who's on the stand, this piece of shit right here who took the Adelson's money to testify to some bullshit is sitting there watching this when she knows she's not supposed to. She knows she's not supposed to be watching someone else's testimony. She knows she's supposed to be sequestered, and she's sitting there with her dumb fucking face and her dumb fucking hair in the back of this courtroom learning things that she didn't know before, even though she lied and said that shit when she got up there. Fuck her. I have such disdain for this piece of shit. She can go fuck herself. And I hope the Google reviews are continuing to go down for her, because how dare you sell your fucking soul to the fucking Adelsons? The Adelsons? That check was worth it for you to get in front of everyone and say that shit about Dan, you piece of shit?
And before we get to the final one,
look at her making a face back there. Fuck you.
You advised Miss Adelson along the way of what you just told us about the unlikelihood of his success.
I did not think he was going to be successful in his response because it was an inappropriate pleading and it should have been dismissed, which I believe it would have been dismissed. And you can't say, I'm not going to pay you because you breached this agreement by not giving me documents. That just, first of all, there's a lot of case law that says that if a case is heavily involved with mediations and lawyers and all these documents have been produced, you had your shot at it. So he was not going to be able to do that. Plus, I knew that he knew about these assets because we had that conversation at mediation, and I had several conversations with his lawyer afterwards, and the marital settlement agreement listed all these assets that he was claiming he had no knowledge of, and they were already listed on the marital settlement agreement. So it was not, in my opinion, a successful response, and I told Wendy that it wasn't, and not to worry about it.
Now, there was a hearing in February of 2014. I think the records indicate that that Mr. Markell and his attorney were attempting to depose Ms. Adelson.
And now I'm distracted by her dumb fucking smirk this whole time. I didn't notice it the first time, but now I'm just noticing her dumb, stupid fucking smirk back there. Like she's agreeing with everything her BFF is saying when she's not even supposed to fucking be there. Linda.
What happened was I wanted to take his deposition so I could find out why he wasn't paying. And their response was to want to take her deposition, which I did not believe was appropriate because we were simply trying to enforce a marital settlement agreement, and there's nothing that would happen in terms of that marital settlement agreement that would require him to ask her any questions. So I did file a motion to protective order so that he would not take her deposition. We went to court on that issue in front of the same judge.
And what happened at that hearing?
At that hearing, which we did not have transcribed, which we usually do, but we didn't because it was pretty much a 15-minute hearing, the judge read all of the pleadings, and she said that she was very unhappy with Professor Markell's pleadings. She did not like them. She thought they were a poke in my client's eye, and they were not appropriate, and she never wanted to see pleadings like this in front of her again, but she was going to allow the deposition.
With some limits?
So weird. So the judge said, I hate this. This is terrible. You shouldn't have done this. But the judge was allowing the deposition? If it was such shitty motion, if it was so bad, why is the judge allowing the motion? If it was such a piece of shit, riddle me that.
With limits, yes.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly all the limits, but they could only be about certain things.
Now, subsequent to that, did Mr. Markell file an additional pleading concerning complaints that he had about right of first refusal, parenting time, and things of that nature?
So that's the first time, and this is actually almost a year after the divorce, and we're done with the whole divorce. That's the first time that he brought up any parenting issues. And it was a series of issues that he had now about the parenting, and it was that Wendy wasn't allowing him to FaceTime with his children as much as he wanted to, that they weren't allowed to go to be present at the same birthday parties, that if there was a birthday party that he was at, she wouldn't come, I mean, things like that. And that she wasn't, I think there was a right of first refusal in it, and that she was letting her mom watch the kids, and he didn't like her mom watching the kids, and I think he alleged that her mom.
I mean, can you fucking blame him? He didn't want Donna. She's the devil incarnate. Of course, he doesn't want her watching the kid. He doesn't want her watching the kids. She's talking shit about him in front of the kids. And if you don't believe that's a thing that happened, have you missed this trial? Hitler Youth uniforms? You don't think she had no problem talking massive shit about Dan in front of the kids? Not like to the kids, but everyone on the phone. Oh, you'll not believe what Danny did today at practice. You'll not believe what that dummy said. Like, she was just on the phone all the time talking trash about him in front of the kids. 100%, no question.
Mom was saying bad things to the kids, potentially, about him. I think that was the first time. He also, I think it was that pleading where he went on a little bit more about Wendy and how she should probably be disbarred from the practice of law, and that I should be disbarred from the practice of law. I think it was that one.
as he's filing these things, are you still trying to set a hearing, or set the depositions and set hearing on your enforcement motion?
I've still been trying to do that. There were a number of hearings that got canceled. Some of them I think were because of the court needed to move things. Some of them were because I was trying to work this out. Still, I'm always trying to work out a case and not go to court if I can. So we were trying to work it out, but he wasn't paying, and I was trying to set hearings on all of this so we could get the money and we could get his motions dismissed because they were frivolous.
Okay. Now, the one motion concerning his
They were frivolous, but the judge was going to set it down for a deposition, but it was frivolous.
My client, Mrs. Adelson, he referenced parental alienation. Have you dealt with parental alienation in your practice before?
I have.
And what is that?
Well, it's not actually a recognized legal term, and it's not actually a recognized mental health term by the mental health professionals, but it does happen. I mean, we all know that there are parents who do alienate their children against their spouse by saying really terrible things or trying to put up roadblocks to parentings. And I've had cases that were pretty serious in the past where little children, it doesn't usually impact teenagers. By the time they're teenagers, they've already done they want to do their teenage thing. It really truly impacts not children this young either. It's usually like 7 to 9-year-olds that we deal with when we have parental alienation, where they've completely aligned with one parent inappropriately, and not because the other parent is doing something like abusing them or something like that. It's because the other parent truly is putting up these roadblocks. They do use those terms. I've seen it.
Okay. The statements that were included in the March 26, 2014 pleading filed by Mr. Markel that were attributed to my client, would that have resulted in any sort of relief preventing my client from having any sort of unsupervised time with the grandchildren?
No. It's not possible. And I told Wendy that.
Okay. Now, as Professor Markel continued filing things, did you realize that you were going to have to become a witness?
So I can't remember how many pleadings he filed on that regard. It may have been 3. And it was the last one that he filed. I believe it was in May, I believe, where he said that, where he became very personal to me, which occasionally happens. It doesn't usually happen with professional people, so I was surprised. But he became very personal towards me and said that I had committed fraud and that.
Weird, because you're being a professional. You're a professional who's being an asshole in court, and that doesn't usually happen. But hey, I guess we're doing things now. Joanne, member for 23 months, condescending T-Watt. Yeah, you're not kidding. Thank you so much, Joanne. Love you and Mr. Jedi.
I should be disbarred based upon what had happened. At that point in time, I knew that I was going to actually have to be a witness now in this case. And as a witness, you can't be a witness and a lawyer representing your client. So I knew that I had to withdraw. So I withdrew so that I could testify in the case that was going to come up. And I sought a new counsel for Ms. Adelson at that point.
Did that result in the hearing that had, now, let me back up. Had you been able, prior to withdrawing, to schedule the hearing on your enforcement motion as well as Mr. Markel's motions?
I had it scheduled. It was scheduled, but then I had to withdraw because he filed that pleading after it was scheduled. So I had to withdraw, and I called Jimmy Judkins and asked him if he could please represent Ms. Adelson. He said yes, but he needed more time to get up to speed on that case, so the hearing had to be moved.
Okay. And around this time, were you aware that Mr. Markel had to change counsel again as well?
I did not know that.
Were you aware that as Mr. Markel is filing these pleadings, including the one in March, that he continued to ask my client to watch the children during his time sharing?
I don't know what they were. I don't know anything about their correspondence. I've really only dealt with Wendy.
And on that note, we discussed earlier that it's not unusual for parents or family to be involved in meetings. Was my client, Donna Adelson, involved in any of the meetings that you had with Wendy Adelson during her initial dissolution proceeding or any of the enforcement proceedings after the fact?
She was not involved in any. I never spoke to her except for the one hearing on relocation that she and her husband came to. But even then, it was very brief. They were very nice, lovely people. I didn't, even afterwards, they were fine. I had no issues with them, but I never spoke to them. I never emailed with them. They never came to any meetings. They were not involved with me.
And do you have a recollection of whether my client and her husband were in the courtroom for the relocation hearing, or were they out in the hallway?
I believe they were in the hallway. I don't believe they came in.
Okay, just a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further this time.
Cross-examination.
Morning.
Good morning.
So you said you weren't aware of Donna Adelson's involvement.
She was not involved
Sharon says, this is the best chat, and I couldn't agree more. You guys are the greatest.
with me.
Okay.
So no.
Did you know that she was drafting Wendy's filings and having Wendy copy and paste them to send to you?
She couldn't have drafted any of the filings because I drafted the filings.
What she would like to be put in the filings? How about that?
I'm not aware of any of that, no.
Okay. Do you know that she was drafting things for Wendy to put in her filings in Wendy's voice?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Did Wendy, though, give you input on things maybe to put in filings or things that she would like said on her behalf?
Not a lot. I talked to Wendy on a pretty regular basis when I was filing something on the phone or by email. And she was a very good client.
This rings to me to be total and absolute horseshit. Your client, who happens to be a lawyer in a divorce case, is not giving you information regarding what to say in the pleadings. I mean, don't they have to tell you stuff that's going on? This seems like complete horseshit. Wendy was just like, you do everything, and I'm not going to pay any attention to it. And when we know that she's emailing Grandma Gotti back and forth, but you're telling me she had no influence on what you filed, this rings to me to be complete and total horseshit.
In all honesty, where she listened to me and she basically, we have clients that don't. Now we have clients that give you ChatGPT and want you to do ChatGPT pleadings, so there's that.
Oh, she loved that. She loved that little story. I think she said it more than once. The ChatGPT. Oh, I'm so common. I'm such a relatable person. The ChatGPT. Do you like my joke about the ChatGPT? No one cares. No one cares. Just fucking testify and tell the truth.
That client, she would say something like, well, and my pleadings were very short. I mean, my pleadings were very, very short. They were to the point and like, no, dismiss this, that's not true. There wasn't a lot more going on in most of them.
So you wouldn't have knowledge of Wendy sending pleadings to her mom and saying, let's edit this?
No, because I wouldn't have edited it based on that anyway.
Okay.
I mean, maybe they did, but I didn't do it.
All right.
And I never heard about it.
Okay. So this would have been between Donna and Wendy.
If that had happened, yeah.
You mentioned that, of course, she had a shot with relocation, but given the situation in this case being that the kids were raised in Tallahassee, the parents' jobs with FSU, you were not personally surprised when the relocation was denied.
I'm never surprised when a relocation is denied.
Because it's hard to prove detriment at that time.
I'm always hopeful, but
Right.
And I thought she had a good shot, or I wouldn't have let her do it. I mean, I'm not going to file a frivolous motion, and I thought she had a good shot for a number of reasons.
Regardless, though, of what you think, do you ever have clients or family members of clients who have unrealistic expectations of what the courts will allow or what you can do for them?
Yes.
Okay. Even given your best guidance?
Yes.
Okay. That's not an uncommon thing.
No, that's why parents are often involved in these cases and come to talk to me about what they think I should be doing. Yes, I get that a lot.
Right. And at that relocation hearing, were Donna and Harvey Adelson possible witnesses?
I've been trying to think about that. I think that that's probably why I had them sit outside, is because they could potentially be witnesses in invoking the rule. However, I think we had come to either the close of our case.
But you wouldn't know that until you were done calling witnesses.
Correct. So that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So that's why they were in the hallway.
That's why
most
they were in the
likely.
hallway. Yeah.
Okay. Not because they didn't care or they weren't involved.
Oh no, they were very nice. I mean, I met them. They were there when I got there in the morning. They introduced themselves. They were very nice. We did our thing. I came back and told them afterwards. Nobody yelled or screamed or cried or did any carrying on, which sometimes happens.
Oh, they didn't yell or cry? Oh, well, I guess then that they didn't yell or cry at the mediation hearing in public. So they are great people. Who cares about the Hitler Youth? Who cares that they plan to murder? Who cares about baptizing the kids? They didn't yell and cry at the hearing. Adelson's the best people to ever live.
So no, it was all very appropriate.
Okay. Oh, very appropriate.
Do you sometimes have clients or family members of clients who take the news harder than you do when they lose something in court?
I don't like to lose either. So there's that.
Oh, you don't like to lose either? No one gives a shit, asshole. No one asked you about that wasn't the question. Oh, you don't like to lose either? Oh, that's wonderful.
Like it. That's why I don't like to go to court if I think I'm going to lose. That's why I want to settle things. But sometimes they take it really hard, especially family if they're not there. They do.
Okay. And you said Wendy was upset when she was denied the relocation, but she was calm. Oh, let me also ask you this. Wendy Adelson stipulated to the denial of the relocation after you found out behind the scenes from the judge that it was going to be denied.
Correct.
Okay. And she was upset about it, but calm.
Yes.
She's not screaming.
No.
No. Okay.
And I have people do that. I mean, I've had to have my own clients taken by the bailiff out.
I'm sure
No
you've
one
seen
cares.
it all.
No
And
one cares.
how did Donna Adelson feel about not winning the relocation?
I don't know how she felt. I can only tell you that I came out, I talked to Wendy, and then briefly, as far as I remember, because I mean it was 13 years ago, I think I talked to all of them and kind of told them what happened and what was going on. And you know, I didn't agree with the judge, but this is the judge, and they get to make the decisions. And I think that Wendy went and talked to her parents without me, and then came back and said, "Okay, we're good. We can go into court and we can stipulate."
Okay.
Which is what I had suggested.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. So Wendy had to go to Donna for the approval to say we're good to go. Wendy had to go to Donna to say that they were good to keep going. Almost like in this murder, Donna was the one who had to give the good to go. Almost like Donna and Wendy were involved in that too.
If there are emails of Donna Adelson being upset about and very disappointed and about it being denied or unhappy with your representation for some reason, that's not something she's telling you to your face.
No.
Okay. You talked about Dan Markell not paying what he was supposed to pay according to the settlement agreement. In Dan Markell's court filings, did he give, and I know you don't agree with those reasons, but did he give his reasons for not paying?
He gave his.
Just real quick, because I know some people probably have this question, what exactly this is. This is the lid to the blue garbage can that Donna Adelson is placed in and out of when they transfer her back and forth from the jail, because she is a piece of human trash. So that's the lid for the garbage can. They pick her frail ass up, drop her in the can, and they put the cap on like it's taking out the fucking trash, and they take her to the jail. Just if you were wondering what that blue lid was.
Did he give, and I know you don't agree with those reasons, but did he give his reasons for not paying?
He gave his reasons.
Okay.
Yes.
And that included the fact of that he was accusing Wendy of noncompliance.
That's true.
Okay. Eventually, did you seek to have Dan Markell held in contempt of court?
I did. It was part of my motion, was to have him held in contempt of court and enforce it. That's not the kind of contempt where I can throw him in jail.
Yeah, what does that mean, contempt of court? Can you explain that?
So in a child support
Gotti the Grouch. Get back in your can, Gotti the Grouch.
hearing or an alimony support hearing, if someone doesn't pay their child support or their alimony, we can have someone held in contempt of court and put in jail if we can prove they had the ability to pay, but they're just not paying, and then the court can put them in jail until they pay the amount they're supposed to pay, okay, because they have it. If it's a property issue, we can't really have them held in contempt of court because it's a property issue, and that was part of why Dan's pleadings didn't make a lot of sense, because he was mixing up property and child issues, and you can't do that. It's strictly property or it's kid issues. In a property issue, it would be a multi-step thing to have him held in contempt of court. He would basically, the judge would have to find that he was not paying, he's willfully not paying.
And then, could I ask you a different question?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But even in a property situation, the court could put him in jail ultimately, but it would be multiple steps I would have to go through. It wouldn't be just one step. It would be difficult.
What ultimately is the consequence of that is my question.
So ultimately, the ultimate consequence is we would probably get a final judgment against him for the amount that was owed.
Like a lien.
And a lien against, and we would get a lien against the house, and we would, and then I have to do this often, I would send them to a debt collector attorney who would then have to file another suit to be able to collect that money, and then they would probably be able to go into his assets and get the assets. So it's a multiple stage process, which is why I just wanted him to pay the money and not make me do this.
So if it was successful, probably a lien. Worst case scenario, he could go to jail. And then him being an attorney.
Oh, you just wanted to make him pay and not make you do this? You mean your job? You didn't want to do your job? That's your fucking job. Shut your hole.
Attorney, though, could he lose his bar license, possibly? If he's held in contempt of court? Or at least be in trouble with the bar?
He could. I've had lawyers held in contempt of court over these issues before. I haven't had one lose their license yet.
Okay.
But they could. It is a possibility.
Did you inform Wendy Adelson that you were seeking to have him held in contempt?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I probably did, because it's kind of a generalized form. It's a motion for contempt and enforcement.
Okay. And then at some point, did he allege that Wendy Adelson should be held in contempt?
I don't know if contempt, I can't remember if he actually said she should be held in contempt legally the way that I was using it. I think his pleadings were much more, Wendy should be disbarred.
Okay.
I mean, that's what he specifically said.
Right.
That she was committing fraud and she should be disbarred.
Would you describe this divorce as contentious?
I wouldn't describe the divorce as particularly contentious at all.
I mean, at this point, if she didn't lose all credibility up to that point, which she did, all credibility out the fucking window. It wasn't contentious. Do you think the jury hasn't heard all the shit that Donna has done? Do you think the jury doesn't know that Dan Markel was murdered? It wasn't a contentious divorce? Fuck you. Thank you, Abby. She looks and talks like Professor Umbridge. I don't know who that is.
Compared to most of the divorces I had, I mean, we settled it. I don't settle a lot of my cases where we actually go to week-long trials over things of that nature. I think it was like any divorce where there were ups and downs of moments where it was contentious and not fun, but for the most part, we kind of settled it. We settled it after mediation, and it wasn't a problem. I do think that this whole issue of the enforcement got a little contentious. I really didn't understand it because he paid the first $50,000 fine, and then all of a sudden he decided not to pay the rest, and I didn't really get it and know why he was doing that, because the parenting stuff didn't come up for like several months afterwards. So none of what he was doing made sense. I think he just got upset with Wendy or something. I don't know what it was.
Okay, thank you for that information. It wasn't contentious, but you did say that his motions were very personal. His pleadings were very personal.
That's where I think it became contentious, is when he did that.
Was that personal attacks on both Wendy Adelson and you?
Correct.
And he was alleging that Wendy Adelson committed fraud, right?
Oh, Viv's daughter passed the bar. Congratulations. Congratulations, Viv. Congratulations to your daughter. Awesome news.
Yes.
He's alleging you committed fraud.
I did.
It got so bad that you had to get off the case so that you could be a witness on Wendy Adelson's behalf, right?
Correct. That's happened before, though. I mean, I've had that happen before.
And he alleged Wendy should be disbarred, you said.
Correct.
And he's having issues with Wendy's mom, Donna Adelson, even being able to watch the kids, is what you said in one pleading.
One of the pleadings said something about the right of first refusal that he had, and she shouldn't be allowed to have the kids unsupervised, I think, during right of first refusal, because she was saying things about him to the kids, he thought.
And did the litigation between...
Like, that moment there is just emblematic of these two assholes' testimonies. Dan Markel made a motion because Donna was talking shit about him to his children, and they said it to him. And that was a big fucking deal for Tim. I don't care what that piece of paper says. And like, oh, well, it was 3.8 of the motion that he made, and it wasn't going to get granted. I don't give a shit. When that day, Dan was at his house, and one of his sons came up to him and said, Grandma says you're an asshole. Grandma says you're a piece of shit. That day fucked with him. That fucked with his life. That was a thing that that was really shitty, and he had to deal with. So I don't care if line 78 of the transcript or the pleading said motion to... That shit fucks up your life. So fuck you for inferring that, oh, well, this wasn't going to be granted. Fuck you.
Dan Markel and Wendy Adelson continue even after you got off the case?
Once I got off the case, it was the end of June, and I think that he was gone within a few weeks after that.
So you were supposed to be a witness on Wendy Adelson's behalf, right?
Correct.
Were you ever able to have that hearing?
No.
Why not?
Because I got a call from Jimmy Jenkins when I was in Tampa at something that he was dead. It was pretty shocking.
Does that happen very often in your divorces?
That does not. We've had a few people get murdered, and I've had a few suicides.
Had a few people get murdered, have a few suicides. This is no big deal. I've dealt with a few murders. A couple of people killed themselves. NBD. It was like your run-of-the-mill divorces.
But it's rare, and I remember all of them.
Right, but not contentious.
Sometimes, I don't know with the suicides, I don't know.
That's all.
What kind of an answer is that? But not contentious. Oh, I don't know what the suicides. That's where you stop and take a second and think it as a human and a lawyer. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It was contentious. I don't know about the suicides. I don't know if those are contentious. Someone killed themselves. Someone jumped off a fucking roof, but I don't know if it was contentious. Fuck this lady.
Sometimes I don't know with the suicides, I don't know.
That's all.
Thank you.
Redirect examination.
Briefly, Your Honor.
I don't care about the redirect. Get off the stand. I don't care. Don't care. I'm not going to listen to her badmouth Dan anymore. Don't care. Fuck you. You stupid asshole.
Decision on all the plans.
I hope the Google reviews are exactly what you deserve. I hope the other side of the pillow is perpetually warm for you, you piece of shit. All right, here's my question to you guys. Do you want me to go straight into the other asshole? Do you guys want me to go straight into this asshole's testimony? Or do you want me to skip and go to the Donna the drama where she can't decide if she's going to testify, and then I'll give you my thoughts on that. What's the consensus? Let's do a poll. What do we want to do next? Let me do a poll. I haven't done a poll in a while. Start a poll. What to watch next? Next idiot witness. Donna can't decide. Donna the drama. I'm going to do both, but do we want to break it up? Just or cross? Cross. Cross seems to be... Cross. Everyone says cross. So we don't want to watch any of the direct? All right. All right, if we're just going to do... All right. I feel like we do need a little context. I'm going to play a little bit of... I'm going to play a little bit. Dom's mom. Thank you so much, Dom's mom. Yes, Justin's for Dan. All the BS these biased AF biddies spewed on the stand was insulting to Dan's honor. Trying to act like he was a POS, not Wendy. Hope the jury saw through it. I think they did. All right, let's watch just a little bit of the beginning of this asshole, and then we're going to watch the cross. Because I want to get a little context.
About something, and he wanted to secondary that thinking. Last document that was.
And I'm just going to remind you what I said before about this piece of shit. I don't even think I made this point, but Kristen Adamson, she had to be there. She was the divorce lawyer. She was subpoenaed. She was depoed. She was in the last trial. She was an asshole, but she had to be there. It was relevant. This piece of shit right in front of us, Linda, this piece of shit got a phone call. Ring, ring, ring. Who is this? Satan's attorney. Satan's attorney wants to know if we pay you enough, if you will look at these paperwork and say that this divorce was normal. Will you take this check? Will you take this money from the devil to testify in this trial to say that this was a normal divorce despite a man being murdered? And she said, yes, send me that check. I'm going to fucking testify. I'm going to sit in the back of this courtroom and watch the other testimony I'm not supposed to, and then I'm going to testify. That's what this piece of garbage did. She took that check from the Adelsons. She took that. She sold her soul. And I hope she is happy with herself. I hope all her clients see her new Google reviews. This piece of garbage. She didn't have to do this. She could have said, no, she lives in Tallahassee. She knows what the Adelsons did. Charlie's already convicted. If you have half a brain, you know Charlie's guilty. But she said, yes, give me that check. I'll testify.
All rise, you're entering the courtroom. All rise, you're entering the courtroom.
She didn't have to do this. I'm sure if she's a family law attorney for 37 years, I'm sure she's got some nice scratch.
You see that?
She wanted an extra she wanted a addition to her house. She wanted a new car. So she was going to testify for this piece of shit who actually gets transported in a garbage can.
Rise to be sworn.
Gotti the Grouch in her garbage can.
Ms. Bailey, please rise to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
You may take your seat.
Yeah, my name is Linda Bailey, and I'm a family law attorney here in Tallahassee.
Are you, Linda? I don't care about your
briefly-
qualifications. Fuck you.
In that area of teaching was parenting plans. It's now changed where there's a presumption of 50-50, but back in 51. So he was trying to enforce conversations that he had had with Wendy that had no court-ordered basis.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the motion, Mr. Markel's motion to dismiss the petition for relocation, his motion for enforcement.
Thank you so much, JD, for the super chat. And thank you so much, Shelly Beans.
Was that also the same hearing where the relocation petition was heard?
The same hearing.
Okay. And based on your review of the file, what happened at that hearing?
Based on my review of the file, the court adjudicated his motion for enforcement and denied it, adjudicated the motion to dismiss and denied it, and he was basically saying that the petition for relocation was baseless and that the court should deny it, and the court said no, it had merit, so we're not going to dismiss it. And then my understanding is before the hearing finished, Wendy essentially capitulated and said, okay, I'll agree to the denial of my relocation. And what's consequential about that is if they could have continued the hearing, finished their testimony, and appealed the order. So by her capitulating and stopping the hearing midway, she waived her right to appeal the denial of the relocation.
Thank you, Amy.
Subsequent to the June 21st, 2013 hearing, did Wendy Adelson and Mr. Markel resolve the other issues in their dissolution of marriage?
Yes, on July 31st, they signed a full marital settlement agreement that addressed all issues. So within 5 weeks of the denial of relocation, they resolved all their financial issues. Wendy waived alimony, they adjudicated child support, they put into place a parenting plan, which is kind of also new lingo. A parenting plan is kind of the overarching rules on how you make decisions, how you communicate, who's able to go to events for the children, plus the time sharing schedule, plus communication provisions, how often you can speak to the children. Sometimes, like in this case, it was very general language, maybe what school the children go to. So they resolved everything 5 weeks later.
Now, the marriage settlement agreement also put in place a parenting coordinator?
It did.
What is a parenting coordinator?
A parenting coordinator is a professional.
Don't care.
Generally to how to communicate. Marital settlement agreement. Communication guide life in households, so a parenting coordinator may help them the other day, maybe the details, and just keep the conflict low.
Now, can a parenting coordinator put in place provisions in the parenting plan that are not already included in the marriage settlement agreement?
Who cares?
For example, if you believe that
Don't care about examples.
A lot of his the things that he filed, papers that he filed, which were signed by his lawyer, but they were consistent throughout all the lawyers, so it appeared that he was drafting them, were very, very wordy and full of hyperbole.
Oh, wait, whoa. I think I missed the question here.
Time frame. So he was very wordy. He would file applicable. He was very.
Did you see my client's use of the nickname Gibbers to refer to Mr. Markel?
I did.
Did you find that especially provocative?
No. I mean, gibbers means someone who speaks gibberish. And if you look at Mr. Markel's motions and memorandums and responses he filed in this case, it was somewhat applicable. He was very.
Again, if this woman had any credibility, which she didn't, out the fucking window. So you're telling me you're an expert on whether divorces are amicable or not, and you see that one party is talking shit about another one, saying that he speaks gibberish when really we found out it was Jew in boots, and you're like, not a big deal. He really did talk a lot of gibberish. It made sense to me. Fuck you. Are you kidding me? This woman testified to this in court? Are you fucking kidding me?
Verbose. If you looked at his writings as a complete layperson, they may at first glance seem somewhat intimidating, but when you broke them down paragraph by paragraph, they were inconsistent.
He spoke gibberish and he was dumb. If you were a normal person, you might be intimidated by this, but I'm a lawyer and it was really just some dumb bullshit because he spoke gibberish. It made sense to me that the contact in her phone was gibbers, even though Wendy herself lied about that because she knew it didn't look good.
Didn't make sense. They referred to, in multiple situations, he was seeking enforcement of things that were not court ordered, even afterwards in the February 2014 timeframe. So he was very wordy. He would file a 16-page response, and then
Like, this woman has the audacity to sit in the trial and just shit talk Dan in front of his parents and his sister. The man was murdered and she's getting paid. Like, she could have done this testimony. She could have just, when that question came, or when she was prepped before the trial started, she could be like, listen, don't ask me that question. I don't feel comfortable answering that. Gibbers is not a good name. Or if she wasn't aware of the question, which she should have, she'd be like, listen, Gibbers, I wouldn't agree with that. Because that doesn't make sense. Like, fuck you.
He'd file a 16-page memorandum that said the same thing, and then he'd file a motion related to that said the same thing. So a lot of his, the things that he filed, papers that he filed, which were signed by his lawyer, but they were consistent throughout all the lawyers, so it appeared that he was drafting them, were very, very wordy and full of hyperbole.
In that same vein, the lawyers that represented him, have you litigated opposite them in the past?
I have.
The pleadings that they signed on Mr. Markel's behalf, are those consistent with the pleadings that you've seen them author in the past?
No, it appeared to me that Mr. Markel was drafting these pleadings because they just weren't drafted in a way you would draft them, and they didn't, again, make sense. They were internally inconsistent. For example, moving up to the February timeframe, he was complaining about fraud by Wendy Adelson and not disclosing accounts as if that impacted the settlement. But then he said, very shortly or in the same near paragraph, that he knew she had these accounts because he managed one of them, and he knew about the other account as well.
Is that funny? Her little laugh. Is that funny? Haha. You're disparaging a man that was murdered. Is that funny?
Well, so all he had to do was do third-party subpoenas to Schwab. He knew a Schwab account existed. That was easy. And so you can't say fraud, I made a decision without knowing, and then in the next paragraph said, but I knew these accounts existed, that's why I know she's committing fraud.
Okay. So in reviewing those particular motions, the one that he filed February of 2014, what was your opinion about the strength of that being granted?
Well, Wendy filed a motion for enforcement at the end of October 31st, I believe, 2013, which complained about the $80,000 or so dollars. I think there was some question whether he paid $50,000 or $51,000 or $52,000. But anyway, he was essentially just around $80,000 underpaid. He hadn't paid his obligation. So she filed a motion at the end of October. Then there was no response, nothing. His lawyer withdrew. There was nothing in November. There was nothing in December. Then January 31st.
Oh my God, Ryan. She does sound exactly like Wendy Bird from the Ozarks. Holy shit, Ryan. Spot on. She sounds exactly like her. Who is that actress? I'm sure you guys know. She sounds just like her. Holy shit.
So 3 months later, he filed a response that basically said, he didn't deny not paying, but he said, her bad behavior, her unclean hands, give me a valid excuse for not paying her, essentially.
Yes, Laura Linney.
And that is not legally, I don't think it was a very strong legal position.
Okay, and we'll come back. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
I want to back up to the June 21st hearing when relocation was denied.
Mm-hmm.
Did my client, in the emails you review, appear to push back on Wendy and try to get her to do certain things?
Well, what I saw from what I was provided in the hearing, I think was on the 21st, and there was a couple of days, maybe the 23rd through 26th, something like that, where Donna Adelson, maybe the reality of the relocation had set in, the denial, and she was upset. So she was sending emails going like, how can we undo this? Or is it possible to undo this?
And there's her like defending Donna. Oh, well, maybe the reality that it couldn't happen. So she's sending emails like,
Wendy responded, I think at the end of that, Mom, I'm at peace, I'm good. And then they dropped off. There was no more communication that I saw between them.
Certainly after the July 31st final judgment, was there anything else where relocation was attempted or discussed?
Not that I saw.
Now, when you are representing clients, how do you handle the involvement of their parents or loved ones in your client's divorce?
If I know that they are very involved, I'll ask to meet with them and bring them in, because what I don't want is are third parties interfering with my advice, frankly. So if they misunderstand the law or they're giving advice to my client contrary to my advice, then I want to talk to them. I want to hear their point of view, and I want to give them my point of view. And I find it's easier for my client to have everybody around them on the same page. So I just want to educate them. If it's a mediation and I feel like they're involved.
This lady loves to fucking hear herself talk. Who cares? I don't care.
Because this other community, the family member who's very involved, and then
Do you have situations where clients, family members, or friends are offering advice and it's passed on to you?
Don't care.
of 2014.
For her to relocate.
I see that all the time.
To encourage my client, I guess it was after July 31st, to encourage Wendy to do anything about relocation.
Not that I recall.
From your review of the emails and the pleadings, did it appear my client accepted that Wendy was going to be staying in Tallahassee?
Yes, it was done.
When you say it was done, what do you mean?
I mean, Wendy waived her right to appeal that by agreeing that the relocation.
Oh, cool. What about the text messages? What do the text messages say? When Donna is texting Charlie, oh my God, you got her to take the money off that, you got to take her off the offer off the house. How did you get her to do that?
We dismissed, so.
Now, prior to final judgment being entered, would Wendy have been able to attempt negotiating with Mr. Markel to try to get relocation even though the judge denied it?
She could have.
Would there be anything improper with Wendy or her family through Wendy offering some sort of financial incentive to Dan Markel to convince him to agree for her to relocate?
I see that all the time. I mean, I had a client pay $850,000 to somebody who didn't, to get her to not relocate. I've seen $35,000 to get whatever parenting plan you want or to get less time. So depending on your financial circumstances, that number can be wide ranging, but it's common. And in mediations, it's often common to see where the pain points are. If the pain point is money, then you use that pain point to get what you want on parenting. It's a negotiation. So that's routine.
Nothing unusual about
routine.
that. Okay. Now, you testified earlier that you were provided text messages between Wendy Adelson and Dan Markel after the divorce was finalized.
Yes.
Although they didn't agree on everything, did it seem to you that it was amicable?
Yeah, I was only provided, I think, what the state provided to you, which was between maybe April of 2014 through June of 2014. So it was a few months period, even after these motions had been filed that kind of upped the temperature a little bit, and they were working well. I saw some communications where Mr. Markel was inviting her to join him in the Boys for Ice Cream. I know that there were many occasions where he was traveling and his travel plans adjusted and she adjusted exchange times based on his travel. I think he did the same for her. They were swapping days. It was actually much more amicable than many cases I see. They were
much more amicable.
Very flexible with each other.
She's literally talking about the time the Adelsons are finalizing their plans for the murder.
Now, you indicated earlier that October 31st, 2013, Kristen Adamson filed a motion for enforcement.
Correct.
Now, you mentioned a motion for enforcement and contempt. What is contempt?
Well, in this context, I think that's just the title of her motion, because in the body of the motion, she didn't ask the court, I don't believe, to find him in contempt of court. She was just looking for a judgment so she could execute on the judgment and collect her money.
So although the motion itself may have been entitled enforcement and contempt, the prayer for relief did include any request that the court find him in contempt?
I don't recall seeing that at all. I think the court...
So the paperwork didn't say there wasn't a motion to murder Dan Markel? Is that what you're telling me? There wasn't a motion for the murder? Is that what you're telling me? There wasn't a motion.
The court said make him pay, ask the court to make him pay. And what that means is give me a judgment so I can enforce on that judgment, however that may be. It's just a collections issue.
You indicated that you don't think...
All right, I'm done with her. We're going to the cross. Although I do want to stop at the ridiculous, before we go to the cross, the ridiculous, the moment, this big moment, they try to have this theatrical moment that landed like a fucking dud.
Now, in your...
18.
Here it comes. Watch the theatrics here.
Right?
And I'm watching this and I'm like, what is happening? What is this? I couldn't figure it out. Thank you, Girish. Viv, thank you so much for the $50, and congratulations again to your daughter. Amazing news.
Volume 1. Volume 2. Volume 3. Volume 4. Volume 5.
Look at him. He's so happy with himself. He really thinks he's
You
doing
recognize
something
this
here.
file?
Yes, I think I forwarded this to you.
And this are these 10 volumes, a example of a hotly contested relocation case.
Well, I just count 500 pages per binder, so that looks to be about 5,000 pages. I think the actual pages were over 10,000, so this doesn't appear to be all of it.
Okay.
And there were 2 volumes on the record on appeal, so perhaps only one of those volumes got printed.
So the clerk's file in the case that we're referring to as the demonstrative is twice as big as what we have in front of you.
Yes, based on just assuming 500 pages per notebook.
Thank you.
Please, yeah, let's wait.
By the way, I love that this dope was going to start asking her questions and having her testify with this in front of her. She had to move it.
Can you tell the jury what the issues were in that case?
Gosh, Judge, what's the relevance? Object.
Sustained.
Judge Everett doesn't even have to think about it. Immediately sustains it.
May we approach?
No.
Judge Everett was so mad. May we approach? No.
Judge, may we approach?
No.
No. Sit your ass down, Timu Giamatti.
Judge, we're entitled to make a record. I believe I have the...
Members of the jury, the bailiff will take you to the jury room.
This Everett was pissed. He's like, I told you no, you stupid bitch. Now we got to get the jury out of here, and I got to listen to your stupid ass with your stupid demonstrative. By the way, just as an aside, this court officer, every time she runs to the jury box, I think someone had a heart attack. Like, do you guys notice this? Every time she like runs over there, and I'm like, oh my God, did the juror die? There she goes every time. Every time. She's running over there. Oh, Donna doesn't like this.
Issues within this case are certainly...
All right, so the whole point of this is they brought those files from a different case, and they were trying to be like, well, this is an actual contested divorce because there's 15 volumes. How could this Wendy and Dan's case be a contentious case? They only have like 2 volumes. So, well, we're going to go to cross where Georgia destroys this idea.
Suggestions.
Many.
Please continue with your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
In
Of the
of the family law bar, when you really have anything from 2-day to 7-day trials. I've had them range from $200,000 to $500,000 in fees and costs. I've had multiple financial experts, child development experts, vocational experts, all retained, deposed, multiple, just easy.
It was because...
For.
All right, a couple of things I want to... George is about to do this cross, and there's a couple of points I want to make. First of all, George is pissed when she starts asking the question before she even gets to the microphone. She doesn't do it every time, but she does it this time. She's done it other times. When she starts asking that question before she even gets to the microphone, if you're a witness, you better watch out. And secondly, I wanted to point out that I have never seen Georgia this upset with a witness before. She has been She has been frustrated with Wendy and kind of lost her cool a little bit. She was frustrated with Wendy because, Wendy, she never answers a question. So she was angry. And I think she was angry at this woman because she's like, are you fucking kidding me? You know better than this shit. You're embarrassing me as a fellow attorney. I've never seen Georgia this pissed. She was angry. It wasn't like frustration with Wendy. She was pissed. And this was Georgia at her finest right here. And I saw some people like, oh, I don't think the same as you. I think she needs to calm it down. Fuck you. If I mean, I can't see the jury, but I got to guess that this landed with the jury, but we'll see.
What is it you were asked to do in this case?
I was asked to review the documents I was given and to opine about whether this was truly a highly contentious custody case, essentially.
And why would your opinion about whether it was a highly contentious custody case matter?
Well, that's for somebody else to decide. I mean, I've done 2,000 cases, or give or take 100 on each side, and I think I have a pretty good judge of where this falls as far as contentiousness.
Sure, but you're somebody that has vast experience with a ton of divorces, right?
Sure.
The parties only have experience with one divorce, right?
I don't know how many they have experience with,
so
but
isn't
sure.
the contentiousness in the eye of the beholder, in the sense that to you it might not seem like a big deal, but to the parties it might be the most important thing in the whole wide world. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that?
Ms. Kappelman, Ms. Bailey, wait for the question, wait for the answer. Do not speak over each other.
Do you agree that a case, as a lawyer, might be routine, whereas to the parties it's the most important thing in the world?
To some degree. That's one reason I called Kristen, is Ms. Adamson, in particular, of the lawyers in our community of the family law bar, is extremely measured and calm. And I find that when I litigate against her, we reach resolutions, that people stay.
By the way, this is this moron completely missing the point. This idiot who thinks she's so smart, completely missing the point that Georgia's trying to make. Like, she can't even, it's not even registering her the point. And I'll tell you the point, because I had to deal with it. Shannon had to deal with it. Anyone who has been in a divorce has had to deal with it. And I'll tell you the point she's making here. And when I was getting a divorce, it killed me. So you're in a divorce, you're waiting for the next motion, you're waiting for the next paperwork, you're at your next court appearance, and then like something happens and they're like, all right, well, we're gonna adjourn this for another 2 months for the next hearing. And everyone's just fine with it. And you, the person getting divorced, are like, what do you mean another 2 months? I need this resolved now. I need to know when I'm gonna have my kids. I need to know when I'm getting my child support. But everyone, the court, the lawyers, they're like, well, this is what they deal with every day. They just adjourn it. Or they just say, well, I'll call you back. We'll figure it out. To the lawyers and the judges in the court that deal with this every day, it doesn't mean anything to them. To the person who's living it, to Dan Markel, who's getting shit-talked by Donna and is getting shit-talked by they're fucking ruining his life, that shit matters to him. It doesn't matter to this asshole who's going to testify and sell her soul. But she can't even fathom that point. It doesn't even register to her.
Measured and calm, and we get things done. She's not one of the other lawyers in town who may stir cases up or play on those emotions. So our job as lawyers is to explain to our clients when we get a motion. If I get something, for example, that, although I've never had, something similar to what Mr. Markel would file, the immediate response is to call your client and go, I know you're going to read this at first glance, so it's going to seem messy. But there's no legal basis for this, so don't worry. And my understanding is that is what she communicated to Wendy.
And when you communicate these things to your clients, hey, this is no big deal, this is no problem, this is a bunch of gibberish, do they always accept that?
Well, that's not the way I would present it, but...
Do they ever get upset about the gibberish in the pleadings, the offensive materials in the pleadings, regardless of whether or not it's going to impact their chance of success in court? It can be emotionally charged, can it?
I would say annoying more than emotionally charged.
You would not say that divorce and child custody issues are emotionally charged?
They can be, but in this case, they weren't.
They weren't? How do you know?
From the pleadings, because I don't have 10,000 pages in front of me.
You're not in the mind of the people whose lives are impacted by these pleadings. It's not just about pieces of paper and a binder, is it?
I don't think that's what I said.
People's lives are impacted by the decisions that go on in court, which for you are routine. Would you agree?
In this instance, they reached agreement on all issues, so they had complete control of what was coming out of the court.
Ma'am, could you please answer my question?
Like, Georgia is getting frustrated because this moron, it's not even registering, this asshole, what she's saying. It's not even registering her. Like, she's so oblivious. How could you not understand? And if I am Phil right there, if I'm Phil and I'm Ruth and I'm Shelley, I'm glad that Georgia's being an advocate
Are people's lives impacted in drastic ways by routine matters that we see in court as lawyers?
People's lives change after divorce, certainly.
She still doesn't get it. She's oblivious. What a moron. Thinks she's so fucking smart.
So, like, I may think I've got a bag of stinky garbage, but the garbage man might not think it's stinky at all. Do you get the reference?
I don't.
What is no big deal to us is a big deal to these litigants, right? You can't agree with that. You can't agree with it.
It makes me want to cry because she's being an advocate for Dan. Fuck this lady.
Strike the question.
She's so frustrated. She can't get it through her thick, dumb skull what she's trying to say.
You were asked. Let me ask you this. Let's go on to something else. Have you ever had people?
I mean, look at Georgia. That was crazy. The way she just did that. She's like, how can someone be so stupid?
Have
Look
you
at
ever
that.
had people get murdered or commit suicide based on the issues that are going on in your family law litigation?
I've never had anyone murdered. I had in one instance a Middle Eastern person committed suicide just because there was a divorce, and that was shameful. So nothing was it was literally the day after the petition was filed, and he had threatened, if you file, I'm going to kill myself, and indeed he did.
And to you, divorce is not shameful, is it?
To me, divorce is not shameful.
Divorce is not a basis to commit suicide, is it?
Not according to me, but I didn't grow up in Iran or wherever this custom or feeling.
Exactly, Ms. Bailey.
derived.
To that person, it was a reason to commit suicide, right?
Apparently so.
Apparently so. Oh well. I'm like livid. I'm just as angry as I was before. Fuck this woman. Apparently so.
These issues raised in these pleadings potential fuel to make people upset?
Potential fuel to possibly make people upset?
Yes, ma'am. For example, you were asked about what we've called the grandma motion. You say, oh, it's no big deal, it wouldn't be granted, it was buried in there. But the allegation is, grandma is disparaging me to these kids, and I won't tolerate it, right? Couldn't that be upsetting to grandma?
You'd have to ask grandma. I don't
Exactly.
Exactly.
It shouldn't have been. There was no proof.
It shouldn't
Is
have.
she still, her dumb, it should have been, there's no proof. The person involved doesn't give a shit that there's no proof. They are saying this about them. How can you be so oblivious? How can you be so obtuse?
Been in your opinion.
In my opinion.
But in your opinion, divorce is no reason to commit suicide, right?
True.
Gibbers, according to the evidence in this case, means Jew in boots. It's not a flattering term by that definition or by your definition of someone that speaks gibberish. Can we agree it's not a flattering term?
No, it's probably not flattering, but I've seen far, far worse.
No one gives a shit if you've seen far, far worse. You piece of shit. No one cares. They were shit-talking Dan. You can't admit that? Because you got the check from the Adelsons?
You've seen worse.
I have.
If Mr. Markell wasn't paying by the deadline, isn't that something that would be potentially upsetting to the parties or their family members?
I don't know how upsetting $80,000 would be. I don't know.
$80,000 is a lot of money, isn't it, Ms. Bailey?
It depends on who you are.
Depends on, I mean...
Exactly. So we'd have to ask the parties, right? Right?
Sure.
Okay.
I think on that issue, he clearly had the asset. So at the end of the day, he was going to pay. It was just a matter of jumping through hoops to get the money.
He was either going to pay, or he was going to get sanctioned by the court, or he was going to end up in jail, right?
I don't see any possibility he was going to end up in jail.
Okay. Well, you sat in the courtroom during Ms. Adamson's testimony,
I did.
didn't you?
I
And Ms.
did.
Adamson said that that was one alternative, an extreme alternative, obviously. But that's what contempt means, right?
But that
Ultimately.
wouldn't even come into play until the motion for enforcement, and then he didn't abide by that, and then the judge asked him to do something else, and then he didn't abide by that. I think jail was pretty far-fetched.
Well, as long as he pays. Ultimately, the teeth is you go to jail.
No, that's not true.
It's not true. Okay. Ms. Adamson was incorrect on that point, I guess.
Objection, Your Honor. It's not a question that we strike.
I'll rephrase it.
Was the objection again?
It's an improper comment on that witness's testimony.
Stay and please rephrase your question.
I said Ms. Adamson was incorrect on that point when she said jail was a potential option. Is that correct?
Well, I could break it down. There's two different matters in that financial motion on October 31st. One was the $70,000 still due to Wendy. Jail is not a possibility on that. But you don't send people to jail for failure to pay money. We don't do that. The $10,000 in fees to Kristen was more debatable because that could have been in the specter of support. And if you don't pay alimony or child support after repeated chances, I guess you could say, jail might be an option, but there's always a purge to that. So I've seen many times in child support, if you don't pay child support, then the judge says, bailiff, get, Mr. So-and-so or whatever, and then all of a sudden he comes up with money out of his pocket and he pays, he never goes to jail. So you always have the key to the jail when you owe a support obligation. So technically, if he wanted to go to jail rather than pay Kristen the $10,000, eventually there may have been a hearing where that happened.
I hope this lady gets one of those eyelashes in her eye that she can't get out for hours upon hours. She just can't get it out. And she just has to scratch her eye, and she scratches the cornea because she just can't get that eyelash out. I hope that happens to her. I hope the other side of the pillow is always warm for her. She's in Florida. I hope that every time she goes to the beach, the sand gets in every orifice, and she can't get it out for days and weeks.
I've seen one person in my career go to jail over child support.
Right, because they pay because they don't want to go to jail. If there was no jail and no consequences, they would never pay, right?
Some people wouldn't. And that's just support. There's no jail consequence to the $70,000 to Wendy. It was only the $10,000 to Kristen that could have possibly remotely been a possibility.
Did you see evidence in this case of Wendy taking her mother's suggestions, cutting and pasting them into an email as her own, and then forwarding those questions to Ms. Adamson?
No, I didn't see any.
And did you see, in your review of the evidence in this case, Ms. Adamson responding to those questions and Wendy then forwarding those answers to her mother?
I don't recall that. I don't recall seeing that.
Did you review the communications from Donna Adelson, both in the form of email and text messages, that suggest that she was in fact extremely disappointed and upset about the outcome of the relocation motion?
I did. In probably the 5 days after the relocation, which was, say, 4 weeks before the ultimate settlement in July, there were a flurry of emails where she was obviously upset.
Did you review Mrs. Adelson's communications after July 31st that suggest she's consistently still upset about this?
I wasn't provided.
So you were... I'm sorry, finish your answer. You weren't provided any...
I wasn't provided after the flurry, right after the relocation, before the final judgment was entered in July of 2013. After July 2013, I don't recall seeing any emails from Ms. Donna Adelson about the relocation.
Did you see any emails from her at all post-settlement?
Not until maybe December. It was a while. October, maybe?
Okay.
Several months.
If Dan Markel had agreed to the relocation post-denial, post-stipulation, post, it could still happen, right? I mean, if he agrees, it could happen.
Sure, if he agreed, she could have relocated.
All right. And
I hope that she wakes up every Sunday from now on. I hope she wakes up and thinks it's Saturday and then realizes it's really fucking Sunday.
And if he was murdered, it could happen, right?
Well, obviously.
Obviously. Thank you, Pantoflay. Amy A., the most BS testimony. I agree.
So you
Thank
categorized Dan Markel's pleadings in a lot of different ways: baseless, untrue, unenforceable, gibberish.
Shannon says, please take care of your mental health. This testimony was hard to hear if you've been through hard things in family court. It is your whole world when you are fighting with your kids. Shannon lived, for folks who are new to the channel, Shannon lived in Kansas. We met online on Twitter. I'm in New York. She had to go through a relocation hearing with a guardian ad litem who believed her ex. It was a whole thing. And it was a really tough time for her, big time. And it was triggering today. And she was crying, or she was very emotional when Georgia stuck up for Dan. So anyone who's been in that, if you need to take a mental health break, take one, because this can be triggering for sure.
Nonsense. suggestion of unethical filings on the part of his lawyer to sign off on them. Are you saying, I think what you're saying is that those things wouldn't amount to much in court because it's not really effective filings. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is his motions post July 31st were not based in the law, and I don't think that allegations about accounts he knew of not being on an early filed financial affidavit would amount to fraud, and it certainly wouldn't excuse him not paying what he was supposed to pay under the terms of the court order. And the motion in March 26th related to parenting, he was trying to enforce things that weren't in the marital settlement agreement. There was no court order to make her do the things he wanted her to do. So there's no basis for the court to have granted his motion.
Right, so they weren't going to be successful. It's your opinion they weren't going to be successful.
Yes, that's my opinion.
But would you agree that the things he was putting in there are inflammatory?
I would agree that they were inflammatory.
And they potentially could make the parties or their relatives upset to read those pleadings and those inflammatory accusations.
Sure, nobody wants to read those allegations, true or not, about themselves in a public record.
You were shown a bunch of binders on a case. That case has nothing to do with this case, right?
No, it was a relocation case.
All right. And that case, was anybody murdered in that case?
No.
Okay, so if somebody had been murdered in that case, there might have been a lot less paper, right? Case would have been shorter if somebody gotten murdered, wouldn't it, Miss Bailey?
If there wasn't a party, the case would have ended.
And if our case, we hadn't had a murder, we might have a lot more paper in our case, wouldn't we?
No, because the divorce was over in July.
Divorce was over in July, but they kept filing papers, didn't they?
Well, and the case was set for hearing May 15th, 2014. So the motion that Ms. Adamson filed in October, and the motion that Mr. Markell filed in February, and then the motion he filed in March, were all set for hearing May 15th. And then Mr. Markell amped it up again, and on May 5th, he filed the motion that accused Kristen.
Mr. Markell amped it up. It's all on Dan. This is all Dan's thing, huh?
Of fraud. So she had to withdraw, so they had to move that motion. So had that not been filed, they would have had a resolution on May 15th.
We don't know that. How do you know it was going to go on May 15th? Could have gotten continued for any zillion different reasons, couldn't it?
It was set for May 15th, and it was noticed for May 15th.
Set for May 15th, but at the time of Dan Markell's murder, litigation was still ongoing in this case. Yes? Yes. And even after that was resolved, there would be nothing stopping them from having a bunch of other time-sharing issues or whatever come up, and they might have ended up with reams of paper, right?
Objection calls for speculation. Overruled. The witness has provided an opinion. The state will cross-examine.
I guess my response to that would be, I think it would have been to Wendy's benefit to proceed with those hearings, because nothing makes someone stop filing nonsense pleadings and motions better than having them ordered to pay the other side's attorney's fees. So had
is that funny? Is that funny? Fuck you.
Gone to the hearing on May 15th, and had Wendy have been successful, he would have very likely had to pay Wendy's attorney's fees. And I really encourage my clients in these situations to take it to hearing. So once the other side gets kind of slapped down, if you will, by the court and made to pay your fees, then they tend to back off.
But that hadn't happened yet.
It had not happened yet.
And we'll never know when that was going to happen, because we never got to that point, right?
Clearly.
Because he was murdered.
Clearly.
May I have a moment to confer, Judge?
Go ahead. Redirect examination.
I ain't watching the redirect. I'm just gonna tell you, I don't give a fuck what any chat said. I don't care what anyone said. That was Georgia being an advocate. That was Georgia being a badass. Fuck this lady. All right, now we're gonna go to Donna the drama. We're gonna go to Donna the drama, and I'm gonna tell you this right now. It is my belief. It is my belief that going into this day, the plan from Donna and her attorneys were, we are not going to rest, because we're going to stall and get to the end of the day somehow, and then we'll decide tomorrow whether you testify. I fully believe that that they thought that Judge Everett was going to give them more time, give them the afternoon, they'll come back to tomorrow and decide. And good for Judge Everett to tell them to buck up, and that Donna doesn't get special treatment like the Adelsons always want. I fully believe that they thought they were going to get the afternoon to decide. And Judge Everett said, "Fuck that." Good on him. Let's.
Yes, Your Honor.
How far the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
You lower your hand. You understand with your former, or I guess I don't know the relationship exactly, but someone who has previously represented you, concerning their testimony today, are you waiving attorney-client privilege concerning what they will testify about?
Yes, I
Oh, this is Descalzo.
Okay.
And
By the way, I'm not watching her testimony, but again, this was a defense witness. I really don't care. She wasn't lying. She just said what she said. Like, I have no problem with her. The other two idiots I have a problem with. This she just came and testified to the truth, in my opinion. I had no problem with her. But let's get to Donna the drama when we're going to find out if she's going to testify. Where is it?
Edits that were requested outside the presence of the jury so that are deep in conversation. I can tell the court that co-counsel and my client are deep in conversation.
Like, by the way. Oh, she lied? She said she wasn't? All right. I guess I wasn't paying attention to her. By the way, these idiots are pretending like today is the first day that they found out that Donna might have to testify. Like, how are these conversations the first ones? Like, they're making it like these are the first ones that they had.
Sorry, I am capable of seeing that, Mr. Sullivan. No narration is needed.
Whoops.
Or put on any rebuttal case. But once the defense rests, as the statement Mrs. Adelson this afternoon, you've been placed under oath earlier this afternoon. Mrs. Adelson, I will advise you concerning your rights. Do you understand that you have the right to remain silent, and the jury will be instructed that your silence cannot be held against you in determining the merits of this case? Do you understand this?
I do understand.
Do you also understand that you have the right to testify as a witness in your case in chief on your own behalf?
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
You understand if you do choose to take the witness stand, you will be cross-examined by one of the prosecutors.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
You understand that your credibility will be placed before the jury like any other witness.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
Have you been able to discuss with your attorneys the two rights that the court has placed before you?
Yes, we discussed the rights.
Concerning those rights as to whether you will remain silent or whether you will testify, have you made a decision concerning this matter?
I haven't. I'm not prepared to make that decision. This decision affects the rest.
I haven't, Your Honor. It affects the rest of my life. Yeah, no shit. It affects everyone else's life who was in this position. She thought she was going to get some special treatment here, like she always has her entire life.
I haven't. I'm not prepared to make that decision. This decision affects the rest of my life.
Mrs. Adelson, you're in the same position as every other criminal defendant who faces trial.
She really thought Judge Everett was going to be like, oh shit, I didn't even think about this. This is affecting your entire life. You know what? Go home today, take off tomorrow too. Think about it.
Ultimately, you must decide whether you will testify or whether you will not. I cannot make you testify. Your attorneys cannot make you testify. But ultimately, you must choose whether you will testify or not.
I don't have to choose. I was hoping I would have some time to speak to my attorneys.
This has already been discussed, ma'am. What is your choice?
Good on Everett.
Judge, since I was handling prior witnesses while Ms. Fulford was speaking with Ms. Adelson, can I have a few minutes, please?
What exactly are we going to accomplish that we have not been able to since the trial started, pre-trial, the long recess yesterday, or even the lunch break today?
That's what I'm trying to determine, Your Honor.
I will give you exactly 5 additional minutes. From there, Mrs. Adelson has to make a decision whether she will testify or whether she will not.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We are not finished with the colloquy quite yet. I am not talking for the sake of talking. Before we have to move into any contempt, we do need to move on. Mrs. Adelson, the question remains, as it relates to your right to remain silent and your right to testify, what is your decision concerning these two rights?
This time I don't want to testify.
Very well.
Now, when she said that, and I tweeted this out, at this time I don't want to testify, I fully believe that when she says at this time, she's going to come, all of a sudden tomorrow we're going to hear, I changed my mind, I want to testify. Like, I fully believe that I still think it, even though the defense rested, and it's not something they could do, it's probably one of those things where it's like, beyond, it's where like the judge's his hand is forced, like with this witness that he allowed testify, because you can't do it. It's something that would affect her. You know what I mean? Like, I forget whatever the standard is, like that it would be an appellate issue. That like tomorrow she shows up and is like, hey, I changed my mind. I really want to testify, and then it's gonna force Judge Everton. It's like, this is really fucking shitty, but I gotta let it happen. Like, I could totally see her doing that because she's a piece of shit, and she was fully planning on not having to decide this until the next day. I could totally see her being like, I changed my mind. I don't care that they rested. I am Grandma Gotti. I'm entitled. Donna Adelson, her entire life is how she thinks she's entitled to everything, and she thinks she's going to be entitled to that because that's what her life is about. She thought she was entitled to her grandkids, so she had Dan murdered. This woman is the definition of entitlement. So I would not be surprised if tomorrow she does that. Now, I'll tell you why at the moment I think that she did this. I think she really, really wants to testify. She really does, but I think she's scared of Georgia. And I think what I think is it's one thing to see the testimony that has, through other parties that has gone on throughout this trial. It's another thing to sit on that stand in front of the gallery, in front of that jury, and then Georgia's gonna be like, Miss Adelson, did you want to dress your grandchildren in Nazi uniforms? Was that your suggestion, to dress them in Nazi uniforms? Your grandchildren? Are you Jewish? Is that what you said? Did you want to have your kids baptized, Miss Adelson? What was that about? Miss Adelson, what did the TV meant 5K is 5K, and it probably has to do with the both of us? What did that mean, Miss Adelson? Miss Adelson, you were fleeing the country? Like, there's so many questions that she's a dumb idiot. Say what you will about Wendy, but like, she had a plan going into her testimony. And Charlie, he's just too oblivious. He's just a moron thinking everyone was going to believe his spiel. Donna here is an absolute moron. Donna is one of the dumbest people to ever live. This moron she's bribing her jail daughter. She's putting everything in writing. She's making calls she's just making calls when she knows she's being wiretapped, speaking in code that a 3-year-old could figure out. She's getting bumped and just walking on like nothing happened. She's a dumb dummy. She's a dumb idiot. Like, she's going to get destroyed. So frankly, I hope she does do it. But at this time, I decided not to testify. To me was like, oh, well, I'm going to say no now, but I'm going to make sure that for the entire night, I talk to my attorneys until, even though they're going to say to me, no, you can't do that. We already arrested. I'm going to fucking browbeat them and annoy the shit out of them until they go in there with their tails between their legs and go, hey, Judge Everett, my client changed her mind. My client changed her mind. This dumb moron. So, but I don't think she wants to mess with Georgia. And I don't think she wants to admit to all the shitty fucking things that she did and have to take accountability for them in front of that jury and in front of that audience. I really don't. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see tomorrow. But of course, she's got to be the drama. Every other defendant is like, yes or no. Her, but Your Honor, I didn't have time to think about it. Your Honor, I didn't have time to talk about it with my attorneys. It's only been 2 years since I've been arrested. I haven't had enough time to think if I want to testify. This is for the rest of my life. Aw, Donna, is it for the rest of your life? You fucking idiot. All right. So I think that's all so guys, for the people who don't have who have some doubts and are worried about the verdict, just wait for Georgia's closings. Remember, it's Georgia, then the defense, then Georgia. You think first of all, what is the defense going to say in their closing? No one can figure out exactly what their defense is. Like I almost think they're going to be like, the only one who really was mad at Dan was Wendy and Charlie, not her. Like, what is their defense going to be? What is their defense going to be? Georgia's going to have all the evidence lined up against her. She is in trouble. And then she's going to have the rebuttal after they go. And everything this defense has done has been hot garbage. You don't think their closing is going to be hot garbage? It's going to be it's going to be worse than Rashbaum's puzzle pieces. They're so done. They're so done. She's done. What I'm hoping for is a verdict Thursday night or Friday, and then we get Wendy in cuffs by Monday. Probably a little optimistic, but that is my hope. But I got a $50 PayPal from I'll Be the Judge. Thank you so much. In honor of Georgia's pursuit of justice for Dan today and for the past 11 years, thank you for standing for truth, Jay and Shannon. I'll be the judge. Thank you so much. I also think I got a Venmo. Your rants are on point from Kathy H., who also sent a previous one. Thank you so much, Kathy. Let me make sure I got all the super chats. Amy, thank you so much. Pantoufle, Viv, Shelly Beans, JD, Dom's mom, Amy again, Abby, Joanne, welcome to the Bows. Joanne, 23 months. Sharon, welcome to the Bows. Helen, Julie, Abby again, Erin. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I appreciate you very much. Thank you all so much for your support. Tomorrow we'll do the closings, and I'll probably set up a live to review the closings, or hopefully maybe I'll be going live after work if there's a verdict after 5:00. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your support everywhere on all the social media and all the comments and likes, and for being here. I appreciate you very much. And I'll see you tomorrow. You guys are awesome. Thank you, mods. Have a good night, everybody.